Okay, ready to begin the council session for,
Your microphones.
oh, my mic is on, so it should be for July 13th. First begin is the Pledge of Allegiance. Donnie, if you wouldn't mind doing it. Thank you. And if we'd have the roll call.
Mayor Benton. Mr. Dawson.
Here.
Mrs. Healy.
Here.
Mr. Hummel.
Here.
Ms. Kabler.
Here.
Mr. Troncone. Mr. Wilcox.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, and now we move to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, we go to the minutes from the June 8th town hall meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
And is there a second?
I second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
And we have town limit report for our, if you'd come on up, Sergeant. And good to see you again. And make sure that's on.
Can you hear me? Beautiful. All in all, June was extremely, everything went off well. We didn't have any major issues. The North Beach First Fridays, I think they've been a success. They've been extremely crowded. But the number of people we've had almost no incidences. In June, there was only one incident that was reported. It was an intoxicated female who had fallen. She received EMS help, and that was it for the night. Any questions for me?
That's good to know that First Fridays are working well. We're not having any issues. That's great. And thank you very much for all the deputies who come by. Does anyone have any questions for the sergeant?
All right.
That is all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we go into reports, code enforcement.
I believe Rick's on Zoom.
Leon?
Mhm. Rick, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Go ahead.
perfect.
You
First
give us
time
the
doing it
highlight.
from my car and it's working good. So, not a lot going on. Mainly working on getting some updates to the zoning ordinance from recommendations from the attorney and working with the outside contractor for the comp plan. Still, we have a work session next Thursday. And then another planning commission meeting the following week after that.
Okay. All right, does anyone have any questions for him?
Hey, Rick, it's Lauren. So the zoning recommendations are coming from Alyssa, I guess. Are you going to solicit any other zoning recommendations from any of us?
These were based on questions I had to ask her. So they are legal recommendations, things that we're doing that we need to change. They're kind of minor. One of them has to do with like the VRBOs. Part of the ordinance says that a VRBO person has to have 2 parking passes. The town doesn't actually issue the parking passes. So most of what we have to do are just text amendments.
Okay, but for other types of zoning recommendations, will there be a point in time when you will ask us for recommendations or suggestions?
Yeah, so after we have the work session, the planning commission will write the recommendations out, and all of those recommendations will then come to the council to do an ordinance pass for a public hearing.
Okay, well, I have some related to the flood action plan that I can send to you for consideration.
Yeah, I did. I was also I did follow up with everything that took place in Chesapeake Beach. So
Okay,
I don't want to do it here, but if you want to email me tomorrow or you want to call me, we can go over those. And I can also, if you guys like, I don't usually list, I got your email. I don't usually list all of the miscellaneous permits that we pass each month because they're
Okay,
most of the time they're small. They're things like somebody's putting a fence up or having their new roof put on, but I can list those in the report if you guys would like to see them.
I mean, I think it would be helpful if it's not too much trouble, just to know kind of what.
No, it's
permits-
not any trouble at all.
Okay, that's great.
Yes,
And
I would like to see those too.
Yeah.
Actually.
I
Sure.
mean, they're not on the website that I could find, which is fine
Yeah.
as long as they're somewhere. As far as the zoning recommendation, so yeah, the Chesapeake Beach draft flood action plan had some really, I thought, good zoning fixes or changes that they're considering.
Most
and then
of
there's-
the changes had to do with the RCA conservation areas because they were still allowing residential building and other construction. We
Mhm.
eliminated that about 8 years ago. So a lot of the changes they made, we won't have to worry about those concerns.
Okay.
But anything else, yeah, I'd be happy. Just, you can call me whenever. We'll go over whatever you want.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions for Rick? Oh, okay, so we'll move on to marketing and public relations. Dawn isn't here. We have a report. So we'll move on. And on to Public Works. Donnie, you've got the floor, and you're probably going to need a mic.
Recording in progress.
Good evening.
Good
I
evening.
just wanted to highlight on my report number 2 there, because I want to thank the mayor and council again for graciously raising the limit that we had for bid jobs. An example where this worked out really well already. I went over to Maryland Rural Water Conference in May, and we've had a few manholes in town that really need some attention. And I went over in May and I met up with 3 different contractors that did that type of work. And that quick, May went over there, we went over the scope of work, kind of talked to them at the conference about what it needed to be done. I had 3 guys come down and look at it, 3 separate companies, and they actually gave estimates, came in, and we've already had the manholes completely redone totally by the end of June. So I want to thank, and it was under the threshold limit, so we didn't have to go through the process of putting out to bid and everything like that. But I just wanted to highlight to council how that really helps me and get stuff done quicker. And now that's 3 less headaches we got to worry about. One of them was in really bad shape, could have collapsed. And also going over there with that technology, that saved us from digging up the road, putting a new structure in. So we, by learning, going to that conference, they have an epoxy type coating now where they came in, actually thoroughly cleaned the whole manhole, completely washed it, redid all the channels, put new concrete in it, and put the epoxy coating on that has a 15-year warranty minimum. And like I said, they did all the work in 2 days. But that's the type of thing that, appreciate y'all, because we can get work done instead of trying to put out an RP, go through that process and take 2 or 3 months. It took 2 or 3 weeks. So that was great.
Now, I just want to get this clear in my head. When you say sewer manholes, you're not talking just about the cover. You're talking about
No,
whole-
the
whole
concrete structure. Yeah, we have one right there at 5th and Chesapeake where the new library is, right
Mhm.
on Chesapeake Avenue. And it's a pump station that comes from over by Bay Avenue by the marsh. And that runs a force main line, but when it dumps in the manhole, it had been running for a while. And it's dumping on the concrete bottom. I wish I had a picture to show you.
Mhm.
Because over time, and the gas that's in the sewer. the
Starts to
hydrosulfide
eat away. I
gas
remember you
eats
mentioning
away the
this. Yeah.
concrete, so you could see like stones that look like exposed aggregate. But and the bottom of it, it wasn't any concrete left. So it had been running so long in the gas and all, it had completely destroyed the bottom. So they went all the way down the manhole, 12, 15 feet deep. Power washed that whole thing and it was clean, but then they redid the channel so where the sewer flows correctly now.
Mhm.
And then they put they call it a sock. It's like a flow through tube where all the flow goes in that tube and it goes right through the manhole and goes down the line. So it doesn't mess up the
Gotcha.
concrete while they're doing it. And then they spray epoxy the whole thing. And what that also does is seal out any rainwater infiltration that we were getting down at 5th and Bay. We had some infiltration issues down there, and that's another one they did, but they sealed up. So now if we get a rain, it was real close to the stormwater pipe, where the pipe enters the manhole, we had some leakage around there. but they epoxied all that stuff, sealed that, so now it's watertight.
And what did they say about how long the longevity of the epoxy is gonna
That,
be?
you know, they got a 15-year warranty, so that's, yeah, and it's kind of in simple terms, if, you know, the truck bed liners.
Mhm.
It's almost that type of material, but a little bit better, and it's a different color, so it looks pretty cool, like, you know. I'll try to have some Dawn had some pictures, but she's not here, so maybe next meeting you'll see the difference. It's kind of pretty cool to see before and after. It's
Sure.
Pretty impressive, the channel work they did to make it flow right. Impressive as a sewer manhole can be.
Well, if we can get 15 more years out of it. that's
Yeah, but
wonderful.
that was one where if we didn't do that, you would have had to shut the whole road down there, you know, bring in excavators, dig up the whole thing, put a whole concrete structure, so it could have been a nightmare, but.
Anything else on your report?
I do have some other issues. If any council has questions, please feel free to ask. We did meet, met today on site with the MD project inspector for the Fifth Street pump station upgrade. And we also did a demo Tuesday with some of the council members and the flood committee came out, but we did meet and he didn't have any concerns. Everything went well. He looked at the work we did, so we should be getting the, I think he emailed me actually this afternoon. And we'll be getting the recommendation to get the grant money to reimburse the town the funds they spent, so. And so far, knock on wood, we had 3 rains and we hadn't even went to high level there and that went well, so. Another project that so far has worked out pretty good.
Does anyone have any questions for Donnie? Oop, Okay, so we'll move on to Stacy, town clerk.
Thank you. You have my report. The one thing that I want to highlight on my report is tonight you'll see in your agenda, the application for sustainable communities. This in conjunction with the Calvert County government. We have to reapply every 5 years. And it's a draft application. I am still doing some work with Lauren and the flood committee on their portion. Dave actually provided some information to me tonight, but tonight I just asking for your approval that we approve part of the draft committee application for the county so that I can send that back and update that one portion of it.
Yeah, that's our business item A.
Yes.
Got it.
And and sustainable communities helps us. We need that designation when we apply for community legacy and various other grant opportunities.
Okay. Anything else you want to?
No.
Nice. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Stacy? Okay. All right, let's see, town treasurer, Joanne is not here, so we'll just move on to waterfront. Report. Come on up.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Hopefully better than you are.
Yeah, I'm fine. There's not much I wanted to, June actually turned out to be a very odd month with the air quality from the, Canadian wildfires that we had. And it was actually the coolest June on record since 2006. So our attendance numbers are down a little, but it's been quiet. But the one highlight from that is the visits to the beach from the town residents is up 250%, which I think is, great. And you can see a lot of them day after day. We did reopen the Shirt Shack. We didn't really know how that was going to go. However, we sold out pretty quick. So we sold out of all the items. So we'll be restocking that with new summer stuff along with some stuff for the fall. Yes, and all the events in June were great. They all drew large crowds. The first Friday in June was almost twice as big as May's, but outside of the one incident he was talking about with the woman, we've had no other incidents in June. Do want to welcome Peggy Gardner to the Nature Center. She'll be helping Lisa out over there, and she actually started at the Welcome Center, but she is a teacher and misses teaching, and just can't wait to get back and help Lisa teach some classes for the Nature Center. And then a shout out to actually Lisa Garrett's and another resident were interviewed for the paper. Was it Bay Net? Yeah, and about all the horseshoe crabs and everything. And we did have one resident who personally rescued 800 horseshoe crabs this season. So a big shout out to Carol Faust and her husband. It's been good. It's been quiet down at the waterfront.
I see the Shirt Shack, 121 items sold. Was
Yeah,
that like in the first, how fast was that?
I mean, we've been out of stuff for a while, so
Okay.
it went pretty quick. But I mean, and that we just started with t-shirts, hats, and visors, and that was
And-
it.
All gone.
All gone. Yep. So it was a big success, and we actually have people asking for more items. So
Wonderful,
we'll move forward with that. It was good.
wonderful. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a horseshoe question.
Mhm.
I'm just curious. So the horseshoes that were rescued mostly from the
The rocks.
rocks.
Yeah.
I mean, are there any, I mean, I've heard a lot of ideas floated around about ways to keep them out of the rocks, like maybe use like an old sea nettle net and
Mhm.
drape it across the rocks and other things. Is there anything that's viable?
You know,
that
I
in
honestly
your-
haven't even looked into it, but I will and see what there is. I mean, there's a mile or so of rocks, just depends on where you want to put it.
Yeah, and I mean, don't they mostly
They
end up
mostly come in
in that
area.
7th Street
Yeah.
between 7th and Hatches
Seventh
Corner?
along there into Walton's Beach as well. Yeah, but yeah, for the most part, we flip them on the beaches all day.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. There, I know they flip over.
Yeah, and that we actually wait for that, the breeding season to end before we put the jellyfish nets up. Otherwise they
Oh.
won't be able to get into the beach. So that's why we do wait on the nets for people
Oh.
who wonder.
That would be a good thing to share with folks who complain about
Yeah.
the jellyfish
it's-
nets not going up soon
right.
enough.
But we have
That's
to wait.
interesting.
And yeah,
Okay.
that's why.
Okay, just wondered.
Yeah, but I'll look in. I'll see what there
Okay,
is.
cool.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Does anyone have any other questions? Anything? Nope. Okay, we'll just move on.
All right.
All right, thank you.
thanks.
Okay, time for public comments. Please step up to the mic. State your name, your address, and keep your remarks to 3 minutes. Anyone would like to come up? Oh,
Then I have one in the,
and we got someone? Okay.
online.
I just wanted to address Lauren that Bob Hellier's been really gung ho on the horseshoe crab. And we are now going to hopefully for next year, with Phil's help, start a horseshoe club, fan club, horseshoe crab fan club. And people have been writing from this article that was in the magazine from all over the state saying, how can they help horseshoe crabs? I wish that they would have put other people's names rather than mine, because we're really excited about it. One of the things that Bob and the mayor have been talking about is putting a silt fence just for May through June over the rocks, black silt fence that would help keep the crabs out. The crabs wouldn't get stuck. Any other kinds of nets, the crabs would get stuck in. It would be stinky problem again. So people are working on that, and we'll let you know how it turns out.
Yeah, silt fence sounds like it might work.
Someone in the chat?
Elizabeth, go ahead.
Elizabeth Lawton, 9232 Erie Avenue. I just wanted to make a note that I sent you all this month's, the website is up for the collaborative. I've given you all the information that we have. If it looks erroneous or misrepresented, please come back to me. I'm happy to fix any misunderstandings. We did drop another request for information. I'm not a big proponent of gossip in this town. It's caused me a lot of heartache over the decades. It's not something I care about, but where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire. So just want to clear up a few things so that we don't have this misinformation running all over the place. So that's all I'm going to say about it this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, I'm not quite sure if you could hear me, if I've been unmuted.
We can hear you.
Okay, this is Carmen Costin from 4104 3rd Street, and I did submit my public comment to each of the town councils, so I'm not quite sure if you have that in front of you or not.
I have it in front of me right now because I was
Okay.
going to mention it if you weren't.
Okay,
here.
that's
You're
fine.
here.
You can go ahead.
We read it over and what we'll have to speak with the mayor about it is that I believe maybe 2 months ago or so that we asked for all the parking studies that we've done in the past, I don't know how long, so we can pull them all together and see what has been done and maybe have a work session on parking into the fall, sometime in the fall. So we would include your comments into that because many of the things in which you mentioned, my memory goes in that I believe many of them were in previous plans. And so we just want to gather it all together and then see where we're going to be moving forward with that. So there are many, many good comments here. It's just that I just recall several of them we've seen before, and it was in a parking plan when we created one. So that's what we're going to be working toward sometime in the fall. If we have find for a work session that we'll be able to discuss it and then move forward from there. And we'll list, of course, when for the work session, what the topic will be.
That'd be great. I'd like to definitely get the word out to the rest of the town so that residents can be fully aware and have an opportunity to participate in that conversation, because it impacts, of course, not only some streets, but many of the residents. So I'd really like that to happen, as this has been an ongoing conversation. And as you've stated, those comments that I put in that email, all of them have been brought up before in the past. And the issue just continues to grow and become more of a frustration for residents who live here 24/7, 365 days a year. And I know that it's not just impacting me, and we'd like to get this resolved before we go into another summer season. And, just to alleviate a lot of the frustration, the confrontations that we have with visitors, and unnecessarily so. I also put in the comment that, the town is gorgeous. You've done a great job beautifying it with all the beautiful trees. However, the trees need maintenance. They need to be pruned and cut back. Some of these trees are so overgrown that when you walk down the sidewalk, you're hit in the face with the branches. It's just, they're overgrown. They block views as well. Beautiful park, but just completely overgrown and not maintained. And I think that was a consideration when those plantings were being made, but it needs to be addressed. And I know we have a tree committee, but I would like to put that on the table, please. Please address the overgrown trees on the residential streets and in the park. And I did bring up also the trash issue. Yes.
If I recall, I believe that we sent out an email just within this week? Yesterday?
Yes.
About that issue. So we've addressed that one. We tell residents, please get your, get the lid, put it together, put
Yes.
everything into the can. And that's the idea. And Donnie, would you look into if there are trees that are overgrown that are on our property?
Yeah, and I did point one out. There's one that's right at that South Winds driveway that is on the property, right near the brand new building that was erected across from the park. That's just one example. So I appreciate your time, and I do appreciate all that the council does for the town. I just would like to reiterate my statements again regarding the parking, as it is just getting worse. And as we grow, it's not going to get less frustrating.
Okay, and we will,
I appreciate
as
it.
I said, we will, in the fall time, we're going to make room for this as a work session item. And I'll talk with the mayor about when that will be scheduled, but I very much believe we'll do it in the fall.
And if there's anything that I can do personally, I'm more than willing to do that. When I can't remember her name, when Scheibel was on council, she asked me to send her all of the photographs of all of the signage. I did that. Nothing came from that.
Oh, okay. Well, this is what I'd ask if you come to the work session.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else who wants to make any public comments? Okay. Now we move into business items, and that is a motion to approve the application for renewal of the Sustainable Communities designation. And council, you have all the documentation on your agenda. So is there any discussion? Well, do we put?
So
motion?
moved.
Yeah, so moved and then have discussion. I remember this now. And the second, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, now let's move into discussion. Does anyone have any comments they'd like to make?
Stacy, are there any big changes from the last time we did
The
this?
only, the only larger change would be to update the flooding information under the environmental, strategic plan.
Okay, and the census data got updated, but that's
Census
normal,
data,
yeah.
data got updated, yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
So that will be with our flood plan, action plan, which is the next item. So that's putting them together. All right, so the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we move into resolution 2308. Just, I believe I'll probably need to read this, so I'll just get it. Resolution 2308, resolution for the town of North Beach to adopt the 2023 North Beach Compound Flood Action Plan. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
I second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, move for a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, good. Thank you, everyone. And then we just have reports. So we'll just go around. We'll start with Mickey and then we'll just move along and end with Greg.
Thank you all for coming out. I see some new faces, which is awesome. And thank you for those of us joining us online. I think those are a lot of the familiar faces, so I'm still happy about that. There's a movie this Saturday. Hopefully the weather cooperates with us, which was a problem last month. Both times the weather did not cooperate. Other than that, it's hot out. Stay hydrated, stay safe, and thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out and thank you everybody online. Usually I have a lot to report, but I don't this time. Except for just stay cool, stay hydrated. The heat is crazy right now, but thank you for coming out.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out. This is actually echoing what Mickey said, a pretty big turnout here. It's good to see. Phil, I was, happy to hear that the town residents are using the beach more frequently. I actually went down there I kind of played hooky from work on, I think, Tuesday and went down to the beach. It was really, really nice. So hope to see a lot of you out there, going forward in the summer. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, I just have two things to report, two things of which we did. One, which was the Dragon Boat Race. I give credit to Captain Mary. And we made valiant efforts every single time. And from memory, the times in which we made are the same times we made for years. So we are right at where we were. Now, doesn't mean the other team was a little faster, but we did exactly what we've done for several years. So thank you for that.
No problem. It was fun. It was a hot day too.
Oh, God, yes.
I mean, not as hot as it's been, but when you're out there rowing your butt off, what is it what did she say? 90 seconds?
Yeah, it's about 90 seconds of sheer
90
panic, yes.
seconds is the longest 90 seconds of your life when you're in a paddle boat race, for sure. No, I can't deny it. It was one of the toughest things I did, but we had a great time.
Mhm.
The wigs were fun.
Yes, they were.
I think we had the best tent. We didn't win anything, but we made a valiant effort for sure. And it was great. It was a great time. I think everybody that rode had a good time. And, everybody out here next year, you can sign up. I mean, it was available to anybody in the town that wanted to sign up and do it. And I was surprised we didn't have more people sign up, to be honest. So at the last minute, I was saying, you're doing this, so we could fill our boat, but we had a good time for sure.
Wonderful. And the other thing was attending the Maryland Municipal League at the end of June. And it was very interesting. They had some wonderful topics. I remember one that dealt with grant writing and how to be successful on that, whether it's state or federal. So I brought back the slides from that and hopefully move forward with that. Otherwise, thank you all for coming. I'm mimicking everybody else. It is hot as goodness because unfortunately today my car ran out of gas and I had to walk back here 4.5 miles. Yes, and I've lost at least 20 pounds, I believe. I think so. So I've got my steps. I'm good for the month. I just, oh, yeah. Maybe. We'll have to see, but otherwise, that's all for me. And that's what I'm going to do. We'll move on to Greg.
Thanks, Ken. Hello to everyone. And as has been said by my colleagues, thank you all for coming out. Those is in person and online. Only thing I want to mention is that a few months back, can't remember the exact month, and so forgive me for not mentioning that, but there was discussion about getting, I believe, sidewalks repaired. And that was a big push to get that done quickly. And some of that was in relationship to trees buckling some of the sidewalks. And I had mentioned at that time that I hope we replace the dead trees that at the same speed. I know there are several dead trees throughout the town that need to be replaced. So I'm just putting that out there now that we need to get on this. And I don't mean next spring, we need to get it done this year. So it's out there, get with the tree committee. They're aware of this. So I'm not sure what the holdup is, but I would like to see some movement on that.
Greg,
That's
can
it.
I ask-
Thank you.
Greg, this is Stacy. Are you referring to the 2 trees that are missing out of the tree wells on Chesapeake Avenue? Are those 2 of the trees you're referring
No.
to?
No.
Okay.
But
was
I,
just-
but I know about that, but I'm talking about actual trees that are up.
Okay, because I was just saying that we have had a hard time finding the particular tree that goes in those 2 tree wells to replace them.
I understand.
Okay.
All right, I'll send the pictures in of the different ones that I'm referring to throughout town, so we can
Okay.
get started on that.
Okay,
And
that would be
again,
helpful.
And if we can't find the exact same tree, then, we need to consider an alternative.
Okay, that would be helpful.
So-
We can work on it.
Can I actually just respond to that, Greg? I remember that discussion and I thought we had talked about not in some of the sidewalks that are super narrow, like on Atlantic, where there is a dead tree, as you're well aware. We had talked about not replacing, putting a tree back in that tree box because it's already so narrow that we would just
Right.
replace, put a tree
Yes.
somewhere else, but cement that one in.
Sure.
And
Yes, and forgive me for not saying that, but those that are on the sidewalk that prevent the sidewalks from being ADA compliant should not have a tree. Okay, so those should just be covered over with cement so that it's in compliance.
so just to be clear for folks who don't know, so that particular tree, it did go through the tree committee. The tree is dead and the town will do, I think, a 2-to-1 replacement for that tree, but plant the trees somewhere else. Just so folks know.
Thanks, Lauren.
Yep, sure.
That's it,
Greg,
Ken.
this-
Appreciate it.
Wonderful. The last item agenda is just talking about upcoming meetings. We already talked about the movie on the beach. And then there are 2 planning commission meetings, the work session on the 20th and the actual meeting on the 27th. So now we've gone through our agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Excuse me.
Yes, what am I missing?
Can you just make an announcement that there is no town council
Oh.
meeting in August? Work session or town council meeting unless there's
Unless something
a
arises. So
business item comes
we
up
will be back in
in
September.
September. Thank you. I'm
Thank you.
sorry to.
No, thank you. Thank you about that.
And I think, Don, when you could.
No, I was just going to let Greg know that I will bring that back up to the mayor and the tree committee. We have those. Actually, I had prices on getting those trees removed. We have a couple that are pretty bad along 7th and Atlantic. And then also in Atlantic that need to be removed that are buckling the sidewalk. So we will put that back up on the front burner to get that done sooner than later.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
And you'll second, okay, and motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 So thank you all for coming.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.